Michael Boyle's StrengthCoach.com presents the Strength Coach Podcast, brought to you by Perform Better, the experts in functional training and rehabilitation. PerformBetter.com.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to episode 277 of the Strength Coach Podcast, the official podcast of Michael Boyle's StrengthCoach.com, the world's best source for strength and conditioning information, brought to you by Perform Better, the experts in functional training and rehabilitation. All right, I'm your host, Anthony Renner. The show notes are located on my site, ContinueFit.com. It's also where you can find out more about my book, Be Like the Best, and the Be Like the Best workbook. 50 interviews with top fitness pros, and after each interview is a Be Like, which is just an action step or a challenge that'll help you be like the best. Might find yourself having yourself a little bit more time to read right now, so you can check that out at ContinueFit.com or on Target Publications right now, because Amazon has actually stopped book selling for a while, just for about a month. Books will go out at the end of April, so you can get that on Target for if you want one now. All right, today on the StrengthCoach.com Coaches Corner, spoke to Coach Boyle about how they're handling all the changes and obstacles during this time at MBSC. He's been posting a lot also about the home workouts that he's doing and that some of the workouts that they're giving people. And the last few have actually been focused on 1x20, which we talked about in the last episode. And so we'll talk about that today as well. For the Results Fitness University Business of Fitness segment, Alwyn Cosgrove is on to talk about what Results Fitness is doing right now during the shutdown with online training and customer engagement. I did the special episode last time, and with Alwyn, he was on, but it was before they shut down. So I wanted to get him on to do this and see what they're doing now and what they're talking to their clients about. All right, for the TrainHeroic data-driven coaching segment, also doing a little something different. Ryan Leibreich is on to discuss his article, The Time for Remote Training Is Now. I wanted to just go over some different best practices for online training. Obviously, everybody's turning to that right now. So don't forget, you can check out TrainHeroic.com. There's a 14-day free trial. Let them know I sent you if you decide to stay, and you'll save 10% off the first year of the TrainHeroic Pro or Elite Edition. For the BodyBibleOnline.com, hit the gym with the Strength Coach segment. I have on Don Saladino. Don's the owner of Drive 495 and the trainer to all of the superheroes in the movies. He's also what I consider to have the best personal training brand out there. Does such a great job with this. And I really wanted to get him on to talk about his online platform, how he built it, and what trainers should be looking at, not only doing now, but kind of to set this up for the future. We also spoke about Instagram best practices, including his pillar system and using the pillars to schedule posts. All right, today also in an effort to keep some training normalcy around here, Gray Cook is going to start a 6-part series for the Functional Movement System segment. And today he's going to discuss Don't Fix a Preventable Problem. Also, Josh Henking continues his 4-part series that he's doing for DVRT and the Ultimate Sandbag. So he's talking about multi-planar training, and today's going to go over how we're using the different planes of motion in our training. All right, lots of things to get to, so let's get on the phone with Coach Boyle. All right, now it's time for the StrengthCoach.com Coaches Corner with Coach Boyle. StrengthCoach.com, the world's best source for strength and conditioning information. It's also now a resource for the COVID-19 crisis. And man, we have resources, so many resources for fitness pros, strength and conditioning professionals, whether that's product creation, free stuff from Pat Rigsby and Patrick Beath, and Pat Flynn has offered some courses. I did another podcast, if you haven't listened to that, on the coronavirus. I made a new thread section on COVID-19 forum section. There's a bunch of threads, people talking about that. We have some different articles from outside sources, whether that's TrainHeroic and Precision Nutrition, as well as a bunch of workouts from home. Coach Boyle's done 4 or 5 of those. We've had some other people like Dan Gableman and Joel Jackson and Coach Dose post some stuff, and we're getting more and more. There's different videos. I made a video on making exercise videos using your iPhone and YouTube because I heard some people complaining that, hey, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make these videos. Eric DeGotti is offering his 165 exercise video library up too. So Perform Better just did a whole series on protecting and saving your business. Frank Nash, Rick Mayo, Thomas Plummer. We have a bunch of other resources on there. So I've been working a lot on providing these resources. And actually, Coach Boyle's been locked up in his $1 billion summer home doing nothing. Just so Coach, how you doing?
Actually, my daughter is locked up in our not billion summer home with her friends, and we're in our Reading house, and I'm sheetrocking the basement.
There you go. A new project.
New project. I made sure I went out and bought it when I thought we were going to get quarantined. I bought enough sheetrock to finish the basement off because it had already been studded out. And I said, okay, I was actually waiting. Someone was supposed to come and hang the sheetrock and do all that stuff, and then they canceled out because they didn't want to be out. And it's like, okay, I'm doing this. Me and Cindy have been down there. Cindy was the painter yesterday.
Nice. So you're putting them up. She's painting.
Yep. I put them up. I started a day ahead of her. I put it up, and then I put the first coat on, and then she came along and painted, and then we'll go. That was the primer. We'll go and patch up whatever's visible and throw a finish coat on, and we'll just keep working. She'll be a little bit behind me, and we'll get it all done. Hopefully by Saturday, I'll have it looking good.
Nice. I know a good floor guy up in that area.
I said, I'm going back to my roots. I was funny. Mladen Jovanovic, one of my former interns and a pretty cool guy, was talking about if you don't come out of this with one new skill, then there's something wrong with you. And I tweeted back at him. I said, what if you sort of refined an old skill? I haven't hung sheetrock in a while.
Yeah, I'm saying that's good enough if you're redoing an old skill because it's going to come back for you. So pretty soon you'll have different skills throughout the house. So
I'm reestablishing my confidence in my carpentry skills.
There you go, Coach. Just talk to us about. It's funny because I did the special podcast on this whole thing, but I didn't include you only because at the time I was trying to include people that were still open because it was very few people who were mandated to close. But funny enough, you had decided to close before they actually asked you to close. So just talk to us about this whole where you're at, why you decided to close early and what you guys are doing.
Well, it's interesting. We stopped our groups probably a week before they suggested that we stop our groups, and then we closed down before they told us that we had to close down. So I'd like to think that we were kind of at least socially responsible without being forced into doing something. And that's where we're at. I mean, it's closed. The lights are off. We let the trainers take what they needed. Said, grab a couple dumbbells, grab some kettlebells, grab whatever you need, do whatever in-home you can do. And we gave them all, at least to start with, basically, I don't know what the term would be, but we basically paid everyone for a couple of weeks to try to see what will happen. But we were able to do that because we gave it to them right away, that then they could go and apply for unemployment, because we told them to do it because we don't know how long this is going to last. And it's a process to apply for unemployment. So we want to make sure that everybody started that in the event that this thing does go on for a long period of time. We would not. Some people are talking about, they want to be able to pay all their employees and all this stuff. We could not do that. We would be able to stay. We'd basically be, well, I guess we could, but we wouldn't last longer than 2 months at rate before we had burned through everything that we have. So we think this, at least for us, is going to be the better route to hopefully come out of this on the other end and be open. Unfortunately, my concern is that some people are going to go under as a result of this.
They totally are. It's even for a month, even if this is only a month, some people are just will not be able to adapt. We're not going to have as many new clients looking. Let's say we open in a month. It's not like you're going to get an influx of people who are saying, because people are going to still be freaked out about being in places like a gym a little bit. They're going to come back, but it's not going to happen overnight. So you're right. I think the smaller places, the places that don't have systems in place, the places that really didn't create a really good culture are really going to be in trouble.
Yes, I sadly think I agree with you. I do think that we were kind of looking at the long game versus the short game. I wasn't looking at this when they said 2-week shutdown. I was kind of like, I don't know that that's what it's going to be, and I think that a month is optimistic. Let's put it that way, and that it could potentially be more than that, which means you have to have a plan in place for the long haul, not a plan in place for, hey, this is what we're going to do for this week. I think you've got to be able to do that. And with that in mind, too, we spent time yesterday going over some Zoom stuff with the guys from Thrive, Bruce Mack and Sean DeWispler, whose last name, I hope that was the right pronunciation. I butcher his name all the time, the poor kid, but he's got a really complicated name. And then we actually are switching over to TrainHeroic, which you set up for us. And luckily for us, that was happening at just the right time, too. And the TrainHeroic people, Josh and his guys, have been unbelievable in terms of trying to get us set up, get our clients set up so that we can get our online stuff going sooner. And right away, Carrie Burns, who works with us, said, hey, let's do some Facebook Live stuff, which we started doing also last week. So we've tried to be a little bit ahead with trying to provide some level of service to our clients so that we will have that community whenever the time is that we reopen. That community will hopefully be there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having all that in place, obviously a lot of trainers that I know that weren't set up and didn't have all of these things. That's why people like Eric Ducati saying, hey, here's my exercise library. You could always go on to with a lot of these platforms, just use the YouTube videos. It's why I made the video to show people how to do quick videos on your phone. They don't have to be perfect. Done is better than perfect, especially right now. It's really going to come down to engagement too, as well. And you and I were talking on the forum, or we were not talking earlier, because on the forum, Elspeth Vino had talked about sending a letter out to her clients because, all of her clients are on a monthly. That's how theirs operate. Not so much like you, or you have a lot of seasonal people as well. And obviously you have both. But she had sent a letter out that I thought was really she did a great job with it, asking people like, hey, listen, first of all, thank you to everybody who's been supporting me. And those of you who have just said, please do not cancel my monthly payments. And then she asked for other people to, if you could, I'd like to keep paying the employees and I'd like to keep paying myself. Please, continue your membership. If you can, if you lost your job, you lost revenue, then hey, I understand. Disregard that. But here's what we're going to be doing. Facebook Lives, we're going to be doing, we have an app, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing Skype check-ins, whatever it is. The more value, obviously, you can add, the better it is. So I think a lot of people have had some serious success with that, a lot of great support from people. And hopefully if, I think if it goes a couple months, they can hang on. After that, they might be in trouble. I don't know how long people can keep paying for stuff, but I've heard some really unique ways that people are dealing with this.
Yeah, I mean, we're just at that point right now of trying to figure out. I don't know if that letter went out today or not, because we're trying to figure out about people canceling and trying to cancel their monthly payments. And we were trying to actually figure out with the company that we use whether we can just not bill everybody. So there's also some logistical stuff that goes into this, particularly as you get larger, in terms of, can we just say to ASF, we don't want to bill this month. We're not going to bill anybody, but not have to take people out of the system, because that's the other part that gets complicated. Yeah. If you take someone off of billing, then when they come back, you have to put them back on. So there's a bunch of layers to this. And I mean, as with everything that's going on right now, this is all uncharted waters. Everybody's making it up as they go along, including, all the experts, the government. Everybody is trying their best to figure out, hey, how do we deal with something that is unprecedented? I'm trying to explain to my kids that this is the equivalent of a world war in terms of events. In my 60 years, there's never been an event like this.
Yeah.
Where where you look and think, wait a second, the world, I mean, 9/11, the world stopped for a couple days and then things slowly ramped back up again. But this is much more significant in the event that it is bringing the economy to a halt. It's forcing people to stay inside their homes. I mean, just unprecedented.
Yeah, it really is. It's what I do love. I was on the phone with Evan Mark Antonio from Elevate Fitness in Worcester yesterday. We were talking, and he and John Gaglione from Gaglione's in Long Island, TJ Lopez from AM, Frank Dolan from Sports and Fitness Performance. Like, we've all been getting on the phone. I've been talking to a bunch of people. I was on the phone with Don Saladino, who's on the show today, and the community has really risen up and kind of helped each other. And, like I said earlier, we've been providing a lot of resources. People are really coming on the forum and helping each other. And it's just been great. We extended our trial membership at traincoach.com to 30 days just to kind of give people an opportunity just to come on and be part of that conversation. And what's really cool is we have 200 new signups from 26 different countries. I counted the different countries. So people are coming from all over the world. It's really been nice to see that piece of it.
Yeah, it really has. And I think that's the fitness industry too. And that's the community that we're a part of, in terms of we're involved with a lot of really, really good quality people who I think always are looking to help somebody else out. And that's great. And there has been some tremendous resources on the site, people offering workouts and things for free. And I mean, it's in some ways, somebody wrote the other day that we're going to see the best in people and the worst in people. And that's probably true.
Yeah. Coach, let's transition that into the workouts. And one thing I do want to remind people, and I think it was Andy Galpin who was talking about this, and he's like, I'm seeing a lot of workouts that are just like trying to smoke people, like a typical, like, get over that, because remember that people are under a lot of stress right now, and we have to take that into account with some of these workouts. I just wanted to mention that to remind people about that. I like what you were talking about with your MBSC people. The goal is to do 3 workouts and then do 3 of something else. But let's talk about what you're kind of recommending for people at home.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. 3 days, 3 total body lifts. Because again, especially for our adult clients, they're generally doing 2 total body lifts anyway. Mm-hmm. And so I think in the sense that you're stuck at home, why not get a 3rd day in? Why not just think, okay, on that other day, all of a sudden we have 24 hours a day to do whatever we want, really, which is, it's an odd situation to be in. So the idea that, hey, I can go out and go for a walk with my wife, or I can ride my bike around. As long as you can do that in the community that you're at and you're not limited, then why not do it on those off days and just keep going 6 days a week? And obviously it's going to kill a couple hours of your day when you start thinking about, okay, the time it takes you to work out, the time it takes you to shower, the time, you might get 2 or 3 hours of the day knocked off, because you suddenly, hey, at least for us, we're sitting around looking at our watches thinking, when's it 5 o'clock so we can start happy hour?
You should go visit my mom, because that starts at 3.
I'll send Cindy down.
Yeah, no, I agree. But we're for fitness professionals, like Mladen said, and Don and I talk about this, is this, I was on the Muscle and Fitness podcast yesterday, and he was saying, Anthony, what's the first, and here's the first question he asked me, what's the one thing you'd recommend for people, fitness professionals right now? And I said, get off Netflix. Because I'm seeing a lot of people like, oh, I'm binge watching this or binge watching that. It's like, get off of that. There's a lot of resources, like I said, that we put on there that you could learn how to do an online product. You can learn how to do some of this online training. You could be prepared for the next time the shit hits the fan. So get your shit together right now. Don't be watching Netflix. Dedicate a couple hours to, you better learn, like Mladen said. He said something like, you're a moron if you don't learn one thing during this time.
Right. Don't come out this with one more skill, and he's right. But even for me, I've been doing what I normally do anyway, which is get up in the morning and get work done. But it's much longer. It's a longer time period. I'm usually working for 3 hours in the morning now, because obviously I don't have to get Mark up for school. There's nothing pressing, and even with Mark, I let him sleep as long as he wants.
Yeah.
Some people said, "Oh, get the kids on a routine, get them up." I'm like, no, sleep is great for kids. And, if he wants to stay up late and play video games and sleep late, good. I'm not gonna get into a fight about that. So, and in the same way, it allows me more time to get the things done that I want to get done, and also get them done in the time when I know I'm most productive, because I'm definitely way more productive in the morning. And even with Cindy and I, we've been limiting ourselves to about, really probably 2 hours in front of the TV in spite of this. We might sit down now at 7:30 or something at night and watch TV. Last night we watched 2 hours of The Voice battles, which was awesome. I love The Voice.
Well, I would say you would love The Voice. You would have done that anyway.
I absolutely would have done that anyway. Yep. And I love it until they get to the end, all the overproduced, over-engineered stuff. I never watched the end. I never watched the winners, any of that
That's
stuff.
so funny.
Yeah, they ruin it at the end by overproducing all the music. In the beginning, it's just straight up great singing, and then it gets really bad at the end. I realized that as I watched. They tried too hard.
Coach.
The producers tried too hard, not the singers.
Yeah.
Not to digress, one tangential on just about any topic.
Yeah, exactly. Coach, before I let you go, we talked about 120 last episode. We went in depth with that, but you posted today home workouts part 4. It was just like an overview, but reversing the 120 concept. Just give us an overview of this.
Yeah. So what we had done, so in the 1x20, and I linked all the articles in there anyway, so if people want to go on and read by it, but it's basically the idea. The basic framework is 20 exercises, 1 set of 20. We tend to do 15 exercises. And for a lot of the unilateral stuff, because we do a lot of unilateral, we'll tend to do 10 each arm, because it's just like 20 right, 20 left. 20. It gets long, and it's kind of tedious for people to think, hey, 20 split squats, 20 one-arm rows, that kind of stuff. So what I realized in doing it yesterday is that, okay, right now I just brought home. So, for instance, I brought home a couple dumbbell. I brought home 32s and 17s. Why, I don't know, but I did. And so from both Mark and Michaela, the 32s are pretty, like not easy, but easy for 10 reps of most everything, which is why I grabbed them. But then I started thinking, instead of trying to really do true 1x20, why don't we just reverse it? And this was a thought I had yesterday with Mark. And then I thought, I should probably write up a little bit something, because I've been trying to write up something every day that pertains to home workout stuff. And that just was what jumped in my head. Hey, try to go up a rep or 2 every week. If you go up 2 reps every week, you'll get 7 weeks out of it, which hopefully gets you through this whole mess. And then you've got a pretty good base, because if I look and think that their kids are doing whatever, 32 for 20 at the end of this, then we're probably in a pretty good spot.
Absolutely. Good stuff. I just want to say to everybody too, we've made pretty much all these articles for public. So we're not putting them behind the paywall. The forum obviously is always behind the paywall, but we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to see what's going on, to help people. Again, we did extend the trial to 30 days just to get people to be able to participate on the forum as well, and kind of help you get through this. So, Coach, thanks for all you're doing. Thanks for all these articles. Appreciate it. And stay healthy and get that sheetrock up.
I will. Thank you. And thank you for all that you're doing. I appreciate it, as usual.
Hey guys, right now at Perform Better, you can create customized packages that will help you fit your online training. So you can make whatever your training involves for your clients while they're home. You can come up with that equipment package, and you can have them buy it and drop ship it there if you want. So you can also use the code PB15 right now. That's 15% off and free shipping. Obviously, the free shipping is on certain items. So that's just a code that they're allowing me to use, PB15. That's 15% off and free shipping on certain items. All right, now it's time for the Results Fitness University Business of Fitness segment. I'm here with Alwyn Cosgrove. Alwyn, thanks for doing this.
All right, here we are.
All right. Well,
I'm to pivot and do a different segment than we had planned.
Yes. As everybody knows, because we say it all the time, we normally record 4 or 5 of these, or 6 sometimes in a row, but we obviously the circumstances are different, and we did special episode a couple weeks ago when this is just happening and not all the gym, you weren't even closed yet.
Oh.
And I that's why I called you yesterday just to say, you know what? Let's find out what you're doing. Also, you're with Results Fitness University. You guys have so many coaches from different states and you're getting different ideas and different things, and people are doing things completely different. So let's just start out by, you guys got completely shut down. You're not even technically allowed in the gym. Tell us what's going on with you guys.
Yeah, I guess it's like the Madden curse of being on the video game, right? Like that you interview me and then an hour later we were closed down. So basically the strangest thing for us is we got closed down on the Monday afternoon, and then on the Wednesday there were further restrictions, and then on the Saturday there were further restrictions, and the Sunday they actually closed all parks and trails and beaches in California. So it's a kind of a weird feeling where the restrictions from your first restriction haven't even really went into place yet, and it's already not enough. So we went from we were allowed to be open the day we did the last segment, and we changed our classes to we were closed to we were not allowed any staff to be in until technically the owners themselves are not allowed to be in. But off the record, to the thousands of people listening at home, I have been in. Once or twice. I mean, I've got some clients that are in the police department, and they're like, we're not going to look in the window to see if a gym owner is shooting a video, right? Yeah. But we have what we did quickly is we're everything right now is I don't want to say I told you so, but there's little things that I've taught for a while about billing at the end of the month, getting people on agreements that some people have resisted me on. And a lot of our survival right now is based on what you've already done, right? Like what you've already done. It's if you're a mess already financially, it's going to be tough right now. Right? If your business is not structured. So we were fortunate in that we bill in arrears. So it wasn't like a whole bunch of people canceled the first day. You know, that's the first thing. So we were closed at 2:30, and at 4:30 we live streamed the class. And we did it on Facebook Live was our first thing. So really it's a lot of this right now is you're going to be leaning on your culture and your infrastructure that's already in place. But the key thing is speed. Like I said, we were closed at 2:30. And I've talked to Chris at Perform Better. A lot of trainers aren't doing anything. A lot of gyms aren't doing anything. By 4:30, we had a class up. By 6 o'clock, I had a home workout written and posted in our private Facebook group. So right now, things are changing so fast, you have got to pivot and respond real quick.
It's crazy how many people I find where I was on another podcast with Don Saladino, who's on today actually, and we were on. I was doing their podcast, the Muscle and Fitness podcast, and Zach asked me first thing was, what would be your recommendation? What do you have to say to trainers right now? And I said, get off Netflix, because I'm seeing people like, I'm binge watching this or that, and it's really ridiculous. Like, guys, this is first of all, get to work. It's why I posted on strengthcoach.com, the how to make, there's a 5-minute video on how to make videos from your phone, your iPhone and YouTube, right in the YouTube app, and it sends it to YouTube, and now you have videos. So there's no excuses to get something out there.
Yeah, it's your work day hasn't changed. This is key, right? And we've been saying this to our coaching group members. Your work day hasn't changed. And I'm not using the term online, right? I won't use that with I think like online training sounds like we're doing something different. We're using the term remote training. And I do that with some of my obstacle course racing team. I write their programs, I write their running workouts or energy system stuff, and I don't actually see them in person a lot. So that really hasn't changed. It's just now ramped up to everybody, right? So it's remote training. And one of the mistakes we made, Ant, is we moved so quickly. Like we had workouts up on the app by the next day, and we had sent it out to all our members. They had their login details, and we recorded a whole bunch of minimal equipment or body weight exercises. 2 or 3 reps of each is all you need. You can get 100 exercises done in a couple hours, right? Just with one person. Yeah. We had that up, and I was writing home workouts. We streamed a workout at 4:30 the first day, and then 9 a.m. every day that week through Saturday. And our clients were like, what am I supposed to do? You sent me like 17 workouts. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Let's like give them some clarity. Is like, here's what I want you to do. If you train twice a week, here are the 2 workouts. If you're training more than that, here are the other workouts. And so I ended up writing an article on a hierarchy of training when you're in quarantine. Like, it was really the idea, because I was like, I'm just going to overwhelm them with content. But then an overwhelmed client isn't happier, right? So you've got to just be like, you've got to be the thing in actually, at my mastermind last week, we had an amazing keynote speaker whose name's Anthony Rena. I don't know if any listeners have heard of him.
Probably not.
And he did a fantastic talk on Be Like the Best. And in that talk, he linked to a talk from Susan Pinker, and you can probably link to this in the show notes, Ant, about social interaction being key for longevity. And we put that out to all our members. And because the reality is that none of us truly understand this virus at our level. We're not epidemiologists, and everybody who sends me a link to an article, the first thing I click on is who wrote the article, and rarely is it somebody who should be writing these articles, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, we established that we don't know a lot about this at our level, but we do know about social isolation, and it's associated with early mortality and a decreased immune system. So one of the things that we did real quick is we sent out that TED Talk to all our members, and we sent them a link to a meta-analysis of about 300,000 studies or subjects showing this. Now, I don't expect them to read the study, but I wanted to show them that it's not opinion. Here's what the science is suggesting, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's what we sent out to them, and to remind them that we are still your community. We're just no longer in the gym. We are going to be delivering this through Zoom calls, Facebook Lives, and our private Facebook group. But it was important to just remind them of the power of community, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love one thing a couple people have been doing, and we've been telling other people to do, is even if you have a group like the Tuesday night group, get them, just do a Zoom call where you're not doing exercise. Get them together. Let them see each other. Let them say hi to each other, because it's kind of people are doing kind of virtual happy hours. And you and I were actually on Kevin Hirchin's together, listening to Kevin's music and texting each other about it. So, I mean, there's a lot of those little things.
We actually did with our Results Fitness University group on Friday night. We did a virtual happy hour. Everybody got a beer, and we just went on a Zoom call and just was like, well, we survived week 1, guys, right? Nice. And just giving sort of ideas for best practices. And like while we're talking about it, just I think one of the key things right now for everybody listening is you have got to engage with your members, connect however you can. In the first 30 days of a membership at Results Fitness, the science seems to show us about 9 workouts in the first 30 days before someone's really committed, right? Which is about 2 to 3 a week, right, on average. So we try to get 10. And in addition to those 10 workouts, we try to get 10 touch points, right? So the day they join, they get an email from us thanking. Then we put a card in the mail thanking them. Then we call them the day before their first workout to remind them what time it is. Then we call them the day after their first workout to see how they're feeling. And so we try to do another 10 contacts in the first 30 days. Right now, for gym owners, that is more important than ever, right? Connect however you can. Text, email, Facebook, Instagram. Create home workouts for them to do. We've got a lot of people are using different apps. We've got some clients who they just don't want to learn something new right now. That's all right. We sent them a PDF with pictures, right? You just, if you don't have a private Facebook group for your members, get one set up so you can communicate with them. Facebook business pages we all know about the algorithm for social media. It doesn't always go out. Groups are still a little better. And you just, like I said, we probably communicated too much in the beginning and overwhelmed them with articles and videos and workouts. But when your best customers, your best members are suddenly locked out, it's probably better to err on the side of over communication and over engagement than to leave them hanging, particularly when Some of them are just being really awesome, and they're prepared to keep their billing going on, and we'll just deliver our services remotely.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of wanted to segue into that in the last 2 minutes was this idea about billing. We posted on traincoach.com a couple of letters, and everybody's, you and I were talking about this, everybody's facility is different. So you're going to have to word it differently. You're going to have different situations. You have different amount of employees. But one thing we do want to encourage people is, number one, have that transparency and have that conversation with them about keeping their billing. And then number two is what value add can you have, which you just talked about.
Yeah, you've got to deliver more than they get. The idea being is when you set up your memberships, and again, it's hard to do this retroactively, but we try to communicate that access to the equipment and the supervision from the coach is just a piece of this. The bigger piece is the expertise behind your programming, your access to experts and the community. So only some of this has gone away. So what we did is with a few of we couldn't do with all of our members. We just surveyed and like some of our longer term members who have no home equipment, we lent them out some equipment so they can do some home workouts. We set up a home package with Perform Better, which was a sandbag with the water bag, some mini bands and a ball slide. So we have access to people. Some of our coaching group they're having their clients buy the equipment for Perform Better, and they will credit it in terms of extra sessions when we reopen. Our communication so far has been, this is not the time to be distant and be corporate. It's to explain, hey, we are a small business, and the future of our business depends on your support right now. And we are planning to stay open. And what we're doing right now, and the reality is, and we've only been closed for just over a week at this point, right? Our plan is that if they continue to pay us right now, I will give them all this time when they renew their membership. So if I'm closed for a month, there will be a month free at the end of this. Now, I'm telling you this on a Thursday after closing last Monday, right? That that policy may change if we're closed for longer than that. I don't know. I'm just telling you how we're pivoting right now. So it's that if they continue to support us, they will not lose anything from their membership. And when we announced that, we got a bunch of emails from our members saying, absolutely not. Don't credit me anytime. I'm just happy to still be involved, which is really awesome. And it makes me tear up when I think about it. But one thing I do want to tell everyone is one of my coaching clients who's in England, they got shut down on their billing because gyms are considered high risk right now. And that was at no notice. That was the credit card processor just stopped transferring payments. I know in New Zealand and Australia, 2 of the payment processors shut down payments to gyms without warning and required the gyms to fill out a form to show that they were still delivering services. Because the reality is, whatever your agreement is, if you're closed, you've violated your side of it through no fault of your own, through a government shutdown, but that contract is no longer valid on your side. So you can't really enforce people to pay you when you're closed. Stripe, which is another processor, just reclassified fitness businesses as high risk. And that triggers fears that gyms may not get the client payment even if they're delivering online training. So what I would suggest is contacting whoever's doing your payment and just let them know that you're transitioning to online training, you're sending out home workouts, you're delivering, like anything you can do to show that your clients are happy and you're still delivering service, just in case they flag you as a business that's closed and is still making money, right? I got shut down online about 10 years ago when I launched a product called Liftstrong, which was a product to raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And we sold a whole bunch. We raised $50,000 for the charity, but that's suspicious activity. And I got shut down for that. And we had to, we got approved, but at the time it wasn't really a big deal because we were making money and this money wasn't coming to me anyway. It could be a big deal for some gyms if your cash flow was to be interrupted. There are some, as we talked about before, and there's some small gyms that they need the current income in order to be able to reopen. And there's some bigger gyms that, hey, maybe they can suspend all their billing and they'll be fine. But most of us are right in the middle, where we're in this place in between. And so I don't want to finish on a doom and gloom. I want to realize that we can't control a pandemic, but we can control our response, right? So this is time to act like a leader. And while everybody else is panicking and your members are freaking out, when this is finished, your clients will remember that you brought something positive to their lives in a pretty dark time. And the other thing I always teach at mentorships and business courses is, if you could close your gym and reopen it with new policies and new equipment and everything was a do-over, what would it look like? And it's always been this concept that you can reinvent yourself. Well, right now you can. What will your business look like when this is open? And what can you do now to make it happen? And, what changes will you make? And, right now, what, like you shouldn't be on Netflix binge watching stuff, but maybe you could do an extra hour of continuing ed or professional development right now and maybe come out of this as a sharper coach than when you went in.
Absolutely. Good stuff, Alwyn. I want to remind everybody, you guys have done a great thing too. You've tell us about the course really quick. You've opened up for just for a 2 weeks trial. Tell us.
Yep, we've opened up. We're actually adding another course to it. We've just did a webinar on what we're doing right now that we're going to add free of charge. Where we have it's a 2-day 7-module fitness business mastery course that we used to. I think people may have bought it in the past. It was $97. It was $197 to go live. We've put that up. It's available if you go to I think it's resultsfitnessinnercircle.com or Results Fitness University. The link is up in the Strength Coach.
We'll have one on my
strengthcoach.com forum, and you'll have one here, the exact link to it. And we're just doing the software is set up that it'll be 2 weeks for free, and then you'll be billed. I'd love for you to stay and see all the stuff that we have, all the courses we're adding, but there's no strings attached. If you cancel within that time, you won't be billed, but you'll get the 2-week course completely on us.
Good stuff, Alwyn. Thank you so much for coming on today, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, cheers, Ant.
All right, guys, now it's time for the TrainHeroic data-driven coaching segment. Now, I had to mix it up today, obviously, with everything that's going on and everybody really turning to online training. And Ryan Leibreich, he's the Director of Strength and Conditioning at Pro Performance RX in Morgantown, West Virginia. And he wrote a great article on TrainHeroic that we've been linking to on strengthcoach.com. And that's how to adapt to remote training. So, Ryan, thanks for doing this, first of all.
Yeah, thanks, Coach, for having me on. Really appreciate it.
All right. Well, let's talk about. I just love how you started this article with guys, relax. This is stuff you really already know. So give us an overview of this article.
Yeah, pretty much it's just reassuring a lot of the coaches, and that's who we wrote it for, was the coach to realize hey guys, we know this stuff. This is nothing new. So I just went through and I was like, hey, focus on what you know. So we wanted to start with the foundation, which everybody knows what those are. It's our movement patterns, our planes of motion. So when we move online, because we were kind of forced to, obviously, none of that changes. So we can still take the concepts of what we know and what's familiar and still apply it to our athletes. So it gives us a sense of calmness with that. And then we can just adapt to what's available. But that is some of the stuff that is harder, is we have to change what's available because not everybody has the same consistency and it's something new for all of us, but you still have that same foundation of what we all know.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things too is I think people, especially right now, it has to be ready, fire, aim. You can't think of, well, I have to get my videos, they have to be perfect, and I have to set up a date to go in the gym, and I'm not supposed to go in or whatever. I even did a video, I've said this 3 times on this show today, but I even did a video teaching people how to film exercise videos from their iPhone into using the YouTube app that goes right to YouTube, and I show them in TrainHeroic how easy it is to do a new exercise. So talk to us about some of the barriers that you feel like people need to, with, just communication and dealing with athletes, because it's a new platform for them as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's just going to take some time for people to play around with it because it is new. But I think one truth that we all have to realize is there is no perfect. And we just have to understand that it's going to be trial and error on both sides. And again, back to what we alluded to earlier about the foundation, as long as you have that, they understand that. And we just have to realize that all of it comes down to those systems and then getting them better each time. And then each time it gets better with the better video. And now we realize that we can't film things vertically. We have to film it horizontally. And you'll continue to work through that. And also, there's no secrets with any of this. I mean, you can reach out to all the coaches you want if they want to reach out to me, but it's just realizing there is no perfect with any of this stuff.
When you say give your clients here autonomy, because I feel like people think that's not going to happen with this type of platform. How do you do that?
Well, the nice thing is there's a little feature on the app where they can swap out exercises. And in some of the comments and other sections, I tell them like, hey guys, it's okay. Like you can pick different stuff, see what's available. Just let me know, which goes back to the communication, which is something that's awesome with the app, that you can go through the whole messaging center and go back and forth with it. But autonomy is like just letting them know that it's okay to adjust and adapt. And this is your purpose. And then just seeing what they get back out of it, and then realizing like, oh, that was a good idea. So not letting them be afraid to change some of what you have, because it still applies to that same foundation.
Absolutely. What's been the biggest challenge with the crisis right now, with the COVID-19 crisis, that you've kind of come across that you feel like you already had stuff in place? So obviously you're able to adapt a little quicker, but what are some things you can warn some coaches about?
Yeah. Part of it is honestly that athletes' motivation and consistency with that. So they're all in these new environments and it's completely different than what they're used to. They're still trying to figure out what's going on with their own lives. Some of the kids are doing it online. Some of them don't even have classes. So their whole days are completely thrown off. So one of the things you're going to have to try to do is communicate with the athletes a little more and try to talk to them about creating consistency and then holding them accountable by recording sessions. And that's something that's nice because you can see, that's what I spent this whole morning doing, was texting a bunch of different athletes through the app. Like, hey guys, you didn't fill out your stuff. They're like, oh, I did that. I'm like, well, you got to record it. So that's something that's probably a little bit harder. So you have to go a little above and beyond that because they don't have that same environment where they're coming into a session. And when we finish the session, I can yell at them to fill out their app.
Okay, so you're talking about, so for people that don't know, when an athlete signs in for that day, they have to answer 5 questions, right?
Yep.
And then it's on what? Sleep and how they're feeling, if they're sore. I forget what the other 2 are right now off the top of my head. But then they do it at the end too to talk about how that workout was, right?
Yep. So they'll go through, they do their sleep, their mood, their energy, their stress, and their soreness. And that gives them a readiness survey. And I look at those over time for a lot of people. So if I see everybody's readiness is kind of in the tank, then we back off some of their workouts. And then after they get through that, it takes them to the actual workout, which they need to go through and check mark or enter in what they have, whether it's a certain weight or amount of reps. And then at the very end, it has an intensity scale. So if I'm looking for a workout to be super easy, it's a 0 to 10. I want it to be like a 1, 2, or 3. If I'm looking for something super hard, I'm wanting some red line. It's going to be like 8, 9, or 10. And then it also tracks how long they've done that. So those metrics are nice, but you have to make sure that the kids fill those out because it gives you some guidance later on for the programming, which is, again, what we all know. But the hardest thing is that communication to make the athletes be consistent with it when they're in their own environment.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had an athlete today who, so he checked in and his readiness was 4.2 and his intensity was, it was a all leg day for him. So it was a tough one. So the intensity was up there and it took him 90 minutes. So it's another good feature about it is that you can know how long it took them. And so if you're going too much or what's going on or why did it take you this long. So there's some really good features in there. So Ryan, any last thoughts on kind of adapting to the remote training?
Yeah, honestly, just keep it really simple. When you have a problem, just reach out to other coaches, see if they have the similar thing and have some good ideas on that. And remember, there is no perfect. Just keep working on it, and it'll get better over time. It has for us, and I love it.
Absolutely. Ryan, thanks for doing this. Great article. I'll remind everybody it's how to adapt to remote training. I'm going to post the link. We already did in strengthcoach.com back to TrainHeroic, but we're going to post the link on the Strength Coach podcast page as well. So I'll remind everybody too, TrainHeroic 2-week free trial. They ramp you up pretty quick. You can use their exercises as well if you don't have any right now. And if you tell them that I sent you, you get 10% off the year plan of Elite or Pro Edition. So Ryan, thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, now it's time for the BodyByBoyleOnline.com. Hit the gym with the Strength Coach segment. Remember, BodyByBoyleOnline.com. You can get all of the MBSC staff meetings, in-services, and all of the programs. You can check it out at BodyByBoyleOnline.com. All right, today, got an episode with Don Saladino. And Don is the owner of Drive 495 in New York City. We've been friends for a long time. First met over about 15 years ago at the first TPI World Golf Fitness Summit. And he also is a trainer to all the superheroes, what I consider really the best personal brand in fitness. Don, thanks for doing this.
Hey, Ant, thanks, brother. And I appreciate the good words. Thank you.
All right. Well, you and I were I texted you the other day, say hi, checking in on you and the fam. And we started to talk. We ended up on the phone having a conversation. We just started to talk about what's happening right now. And then that got me on your podcast with Zach, the Muscle and Fitness Reps podcast that's coming out. And then we just were talking about it, and I wanted to get you on because we're trying to, StrengthCoach.com, we're really trying to give people resources for what they can do right now. And you've already done this. This has been something that you've been working on for a long time, having a digital business. Yep. You have a brick and mortar, so there's no excuse to say, well, I've been doing the brick and mortar. Tell us what exactly your digital business is.
Yeah, so my digital business, I think it stemmed probably closer to 8 years ago. I launched a company called Driven. I partnered up with athletes like Dwayne Wade, Adrian Peterson, Ernie Els, and I created, at a time when apps were just starting to come big, more of like a MTV Cribs, best-in-class app for these specific athletes that showed their lifestyle, their training, both on the court or field or golf course or in the gym. So it was just a way to really allow people into their lives to see how guys like, Adrian or Wade or Ernie Els would train. And it was cool because you can break it down into, like, if you look at Els, you can break it down to watching him chip, hit long, driver, mid irons, whatever it was. I mean, every category of each of these athletes' games it broke down. And we were incredibly successful out of the gate. And then it pretty much just shit the bed after that because we realized that there was no engagement out of these athletes and the deals that we did with a lot of the agencies. It was cash up front, and then they just kind of wanted to come in with these big shoots and see upside. And so that was kind of my first lesson, I think, in digital media. And then I really got into social media, and I started becoming a student of that. And then I started getting invited into Instagram and Facebook headquarters and, looking at analytics and really pretty much how, the difference between how I was running my brick and mortar business, but then why specific people in the industry who, didn't know a fraction of what, most of the strength coaches that listen to this podcast know, how are they so successful? And then that's when kind of the next chapter of my career, my brick and mortar business continued to grow. But then I started looking at, well, how do I scale this? And I have 400 great members at my club, but, how do I make this number, 400,000, these are my, this is my whole mindset. So, and then diving into that. And that's why it's been really interesting this week, because you and I have been having these conversations for the last couple of years. And, when Chris at Perform Better asked me what I wanted to talk about when I got on the Perform Better speaking tour, years ago, it wasn't fitness. And the reason was not because I'm not passionate about it. It just really is where I see the biggest need in the space right now. I mean, every strength coach is trying to learn more and more, and they're trying to get, smarter than their peers. But I really feel like there's a disconnect in how much these individuals are trying to learn. And listen, please keep learning. I'm not telling you not to, But then they're all struggling with things like scaling. There's not enough time in the day. They're always wondering, how do I charge more more of a rate, more of a session rate? And, every single coach ends up asking the same question. And that's why this week's been interesting, because now people are forced to have to do the things, and not to pat ourselves on the back, but we've been telling them that, sooner or later, you guys are going to have to take this plunge.
Absolutely. And that's why we're trying to help now. We still provide many resources. That's why I wanted to get you on, because obviously you've been doing this for a while. And tell us a little bit about how you go about this, because you use the Playbook app. That, I guess, tell us a little bit about that, how that works.
Well, Playbook's a company I'm a partner in, and I was appointed the chief science officer, I think, about 4 years ago. And it's an incredible platform. I mean, this is a platform where coaches can turn around and they can apply to be a coach on the platform, and then they basically, you have this technology at your fingertips where now all you need to do is shoot, exercises, say 3 to 5 reps with your iPhone, with your mobile device, whatever it is, and it loads right up, and you now have this, this fully functional digital platform that you can scale. It's inexpensive. You can, whatever your craft is. I mean, if it's more speed work, if it's more power, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. So I know there are some different companies out there doing this. Obviously, I'm partial to Playbook. I mean, I do use Playbook for the majority of my programs, but when I launch a challenge, sometimes I'll do the challenge off Playbook because it's just a little bit easier for me to manage. But any coach on the planet, if they were to get selected to something like Playbook, it's really all they need. And then they have a digital business. But then, like, once you get on these platforms, it's like, what do you do? Like, how do you get noticed? Because however many followers you have, you're only going to convert a certain amount of people to that. And I think the example I like to use is looking at someone like Dwayne Johnson. I mean, the guy's got over 100 million followers. But if you look at the engagement on each one of his posts, you might see anywhere from 1 million likes to as much as like 4 or 5 million likes. And when you break it down, that conversion just, it's just not great. I mean, so if Dwayne's going to turn around, let's just say, and he's not, but let's just say he was going to get on and start selling a fitness program, he puts a post out to his 125 or 150 million followers, whatever the hell the number is at this point. And then what percentage of people are going to see that post? So if 1 million people see that post, which seems like a nice number, now what percentage of people are going to actually engage and go to his website? And then there's a percentage of that. Then how many people are going to actually put their information in? Then how many people are going to actually purchase? And then that million number really gets dwindled down. And that's probably where most coaches are getting discouraged, because they put a product out, they try and do paid spend. No one understands how paid spend works. And they're like, oh my God, I just invested a couple $100 and I got one person to sign up, and like, this just isn't worth it. And what the coaches aren't realizing is it's like building your book. There's a level of resiliency and commitment that you have to make to building a digital business. It's exactly what you had to do when you were building your client roster. Whether you're working at Equinox or New York Sport Club, or when you're working at some little dinky gym, in some city, you had to get on the floor, you had to show yourself, people needed to see who you were about, and then it took time. It's the same thing on digital media. People aren't going to see you in person, so you have to use that platform as your business card, and that's the way that you are now exposing yourself, and people need to see this level of consistency to where they begin to trust you. So I think the biggest problem we're going to see in these next few weeks is all these people who've developed their client roster. Their clients trust them in person, but they don't trust them over the camera. And now you have to develop that trust, and there's specific tactics we can talk about to obviously, encourage people to do differently. But I think it's just, how do our clients gain that trust in us that you can now offer a digital program, a Skype call, something that can add value to their lives.
Absolutely. I always tell people in my presentation that I've done at Perform Better, I just did it at Results Fitness, that when you look at Don, there's a quote that I take out of our interview from my book, from Be Like the Best, and it says, the key to success in my mind is consistency. And what I was saying is, in that picture, I show you shirtless, and I do it on purpose to kind of get a little bit of a, like, oh, what's Anthony doing showing Don shirtless? But I really, what I really talk about is, great, we understand that's what you have to do for your body. We all already knew that, but what you really have to understand is follow Don on Instagram, and he's an animal. He is so relentless. It's constant. And I want you to go over some of those tactics, because you engage with people so much. You respond to them. You repost their stuff. All the people that are sending stuff in, and a lot of people, like, they don't do that. I think I'm guessing that's the reason why The Rock doesn't have the engagement numbers that you're gonna have. You have only, quote unquote, 217,000 followers compared to him. I have 5, by the way. So, but yeah, so let's talk about that. What are those tactics, and how do you maintain that? How do you build that up?
Yeah, well, for the first thing, I want to go, The Rock has great engagement numbers. I'm just saying that when you look at it from a percentage standpoint, you say, wow, there's 150 million people following him and only 1 million like that post.
Yes.
My example with him was, I think he's like the best in the market because, and we're going to use him as another example, because he engages with his people so well.
Oh, he does.
That only a certain amount of people will actually see his post. So when you see The Rock put up a post and he's got 150 million followers and only 1.5 million or 2 million likes, think about that. That's a really low percentage of people who saw that post that went up. The thing that he does better than I think anyone is there's this level of sincerity. And I've met Dwayne a couple of times. I mean, he's worked out of my club several times. I just was with Ryan Reynolds down in Atlanta, and I saw DJ in person. And the level of engagement that he gives you is unbelievable. I mean, he'll literally stop. He'll have somewhere he has to go. He'll have a conversation. He asks you questions. He's interested. And that's what he does on his digital. Why he's so successful is because people will start watching him talk on camera, and they just become mesmerized, and they feel like that he's talking to them, and he feels like he's connecting with them. And that's what 99% of people are not doing in the fitness industry on social. They're so bogged down on the dollar, what they're selling their programs for, not wanting to give away free stuff. Oh, like that's my program. That's my proprietary stuff. Like, you didn't invent the bench press or the squat, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, turn around. Like, the first thing that I tell everyone to do is you add value. Your page, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're running a brick and mortar facility. I don't care if you're running only a digital platform. Make your page a place where people can come to for value. Where are you going to be the go-to person when someone has to ask questions? And when they start doing that, then you are on your way. And it was one of those things where a very terrible thing happened last week. They shut people obviously have died. People are sick. People are scared. They've shut down businesses, which I think is like, in comparison to someone's health, like take my business. But like my location's been shut down for 12, 13 days already. And the second it closed, my phone started ringing off the hook from Men's Health, Muscle Fitness, Shape Magazine, E-News. I mean, on and on and on and on. And like, the mistake I would have made is if I turned around and I was like, do you guys want to buy my product? No. You know what I did? I said, guys, here. I literally, right when this happened, I created a free body weight program. It was a 4-week free body weight program. And every publication I called, I said, guys, here, just take it. Can you give us a day? No, I'm giving you a month. Really? Oh my God, thank you so much. What can we do? You want to know what? How about this? Instead of me handing you, you can drive into my site. It'll be there. It'll cost them nothing. Check it out. They're like, we can't believe this. Thank you. You've added so much value. I said, no problem. And you want to know what? I'm doing a good thing for these publications. But I'm also like, when the dust settles and everything picks up, there's going to be thousands of people now that know more about me and who I am. And it's like, I'm not worried about the dollar right now. Like, that will come. And that's the mistake. Everyone's in the industry is putting the cart before the horse. Everyone's looking at people like Kayla Itsins, who might have made, I've heard rumors anywhere from 50 million to 100 million bucks last year just on her digital platform. And they're like, well, I'm better than her. I'm smarter than her. Like, no, you're not. Like, you may know how to program better, but like, you know nothing about digital marketing. You haven't put the time in that our husbands put in to understanding the digital business and marketing and people and engagement and assembling a team and turning this into a, well-oiled machine. Instagram, it's not a joke anymore. When I got into this stuff 8 years ago, everyone's like, oh, I love what you're doing on Instagram, like joking around. Like, it's a business now. You can make millions of dollars doing this. It boggles my mind how someone can be so successful in brick and mortar, and the same approach that they took there is what they need to do here. They just don't want to take that step back to do so.
Absolutely. And it's so important because, like your financial portfolio, you need to diversify. This is like, look, Don's not some just Instagram influencer. He has Drive 495 in New York City for 15 years now. So it is not just something for somebody it's for everybody. We all need to get into these things. We're going to talk about Instagram best practice in a minute, but Don, go over, let's just take a step back because coaches need to basically pivot right now and to do some of these things. What are some things that you would say best practices from the perspective of, okay, I'm setting this up, I'm giving them some programs. What are some things you think they should do?
I think they should right now, don't worry about the money and start worrying about, email captures. I think that's probably more valuable right now. So I think what they should be doing is, building a program, giving it to people, helping them out. I mean, you could charge for it, of course. Like, I offered my free bodyweight program with nothing in return, and I just got such a crazy response that people wanted coaching with it that I launched a 2.0 version. So very well, at any point, I've got a product that I can just give away for free. But if then someone wants to step it up, sure, that's fine. And there's a 2.0 version where, you get your weekly Zoom calls and you get, your daily group chats and specific things. And this is more like mass market stuff. But, I think for a lot of the brick and mortar facilities and a lot of the people who now their businesses are non-existent, you have this database. You've every coach that I've been doing weekly calls with my team. I did a weekly Zoom call this week, and then I individually got on the phone with every single one of my trainers. And every one of my trainers has at least 15 to 25 different clients. So I'm like, guys, let's, who have we reached out to? Who's working with you digitally right now? Like, Drive turned around, and what we did was we said, all right, listen, if our session rate is $250 an hour, we're going to drop it to $120 an hour. We're going to turn around and I'm going to pay the trainers the same amount of money that they were making. Why? Because I can. And I want the trainers to get through this really, tough time. I want them to be comfortable, and I want them to be happy, and I want them to make it. So, so driving the trainer is going to, work out an arrangement where I'm still taking a percentage of it, but the trainer's making pretty much what they were making. And now what do? We start getting back in contact with these clients. And if they don't want to do it, or if they're unsure, we offer them a free 30 minutes. And we try and regain that trust. And that's the biggest mistake, is the coaches will reach out and they'll say, oh, well, they don't want to do it. Well, you know what, man? Like, this part of this is like, yes, offer them value. People need coaching now more than they've ever needed in their life. In my career in this business, I've been doing this professionally 21 years. I've never seen a moment where individuals needed coaching more, because they don't have access to these fancy gyms. They don't have access to these treadmills or ellipticals, or whether it was a good form of training or bad form of training. They don't have access to things that they're comfortable with. Billy Crudup, the actor, reached out to me yesterday. Can we do a FaceTime session tomorrow? I said, great. I said, just curious, do you have any equipment? And he took a screenshot of one kettlebell and one green band. And he goes, is this enough? And we just started laughing. I go, no, it's fine. So it's now getting these people comfortable with the fact that, you know what, we got to get creative. How are we going to turn around? How are we going to fill 45 to 60 minutes with value? How is Billy going to leave today between 5 and 6 o'clock feeling better than he did before he started, and going, holy shit, I can actually improve. This isn't about me going to some Instagram influencer and doing push-ups and crunches, and then like a week later, like my hips and my back are hurting me and I don't know why. Like, people can really get better. So my advice to the coaches out there is like, don't stick your head in the sand. This is when your clients that you've been training, they need you more than ever. They just don't understand the value you can add through a camera right now.
Absolutely. And you do need to speak to them and see where they're at. Like you said, you asked Billy, first thing you asked you didn't say, Billy, here, do this program. You said, what do you got? Let's start from there. And then we'll be, you got to be flexible. And I do want to mention, Don, there's going to be an objection and to it. They're going to say, well, I don't like to give, this kind of a program. I don't want to give a set program, but Don's somebody who's worked, played high level college baseball, trained golfers for a long time, trains celebrities for movies specifically, has to do some serious work. So there's both sides of this. It doesn't just have to be like, well, I don't want to do
I think it's bullshit. I think it's bullshit. I don't mean to jump in, but you look at one of your business partners, Mike Boyle, who I think keeps things as simple as anyone can keep it. He's the godfather of strength and conditioning. But the coaches who turn around and suddenly think that their formulas are they're such a magical, formula to what they're doing, like, get off your high horse, dude. Like, honestly, like there's like, I think a great coach can create something that 90% of the people can download or look at. And if you verbalize it the right way, listen, guys, if you feel any pain, go see a physical therapist. All right, guys, if this doesn't feel right, shoot me a DM and I'll give you a lateralization. I don't even call it a regression. I steal Charlie's line, a lateralization to that specific movement. And like, so I'm not in these programs. I'm not handing people like, all right, we're going to start with an Olympic snatch. That I think is irresponsible. But like to turn around and to say that, 99% of the people cannot start with a glute bridge or a reach back or, some type of, I'm making this up right now, maybe, an arm bar, a cat and dog, something, 3 movements as a warm up. Like that's suddenly so dangerous and we're devaluing them. Like, no, like, give them better decisions to choose from. You're never going to bat 1,000. It's never going to happen. I mean, you're never going to turn around and assign a program and every person's going to be like, all right, well, I can do that perfectly. Like suddenly someone's calling me up and saying, or messaging me, I just had knee replacement and this movement right here is telling me to get on my knees. I'm like, well, don't get on your knees, dude. Like that's going to happen. But you also have to look at how for the masses, I've been able to curate something for them that's user-friendly, that's effective, that's fun, and that's purposeful. And that they're going to now be able to turn around and say, you know what, I can do this. What do you have for me next? That's building confidence. But those coaches out there that are like, oh no, like I need to run you through 10 forms of like screening. And if I'm not in front of them, I don't want to do it, then don't do it. Like this isn't for you. Like I completely understand. Like I want to reach 10 million people and I want to be that person to be able to turn around and help more lives. And, it's just at my club, I can focus on a 100% bespoke model where we're targeting one specific person. But it's also my challenge to turn around and help someone in the Midwest who doesn't have access to coaching that we offer at our club.
Absolutely. In total agreement. And I think, look, the goal here is to help as many people as we can and move forward. Don, let's talk about, all right, we know this, we got to be on this. So there does have to be this piece of promoting it. So I do want to go over, I've gone to your lecture, the Instagram lecture. It's really good. It's fun because you get everybody involved, but I like this idea. People start to say, well, I don't know about content. I don't know what to do. And you have this great system with the pillars. Talk to us about your Instagram system to get people the best possible productivity on Instagram.
Sure. Yeah. So I just, years ago, I was taught that, we've got to have an understanding, whether it's your brick and mortar business or whether it's your digital business, what are your pillars? And what's interesting is everyone's different. Like you might have a coach who's very funny and that's part of his shtick or her shtick. And it's like, all right, well, they've got a great sense of humor. Like, let's make sure that comes out in their posting schedule. Like, we don't want to overwhelm people with it. So we came up with this idea of like pillars, and that's setting up like, all right, in the Don Saladino brand or in the Drive 485 brand or the Mike Boyle brand, like what are the 3 to 5 basic things that that business or individual wants to portray. So for me, it's obviously a big one is fitness, right? So that's number one. Number two might be, nutrition and wellness. That's a huge one. Wellness could cover recovery also. The third one might be more like comedy, more like fun, like kind of goofy things. And now suddenly in my brand, I've created family is one of them. So suddenly when a business or a brand or a label goes to my page and they look at the last 10 posts, they start getting a complete understanding of who I'm about and what my business is about and what my values are. So, in the last few days, it's been very in-home training centric because I've had to make adjustments and I want to show a lot of value. I want to give a lot of value. But if you go beyond that, you're now seeing that I would do some training on Broadway stuff. You would now see some nutrition stuff. You would now see a post with my family. You now see maybe, one in every 20 pics. Yeah, there's going to be one with my shirt off because that's still something that's, important to me in the sense of I like practicing what I preach. Fortunately, I've been on the cover of several magazines. There's certain things that still feed into my business that, I kind of roll my eyes to sometimes, but I have to kind of push it in there because it's important. And because of this has opened a lot of doors for me with different businesses, different labels, different production companies. And, for the last, I've had Drive for 15 years. For the last 13 of those 15 years, there's a reason why I've become the coach to prepare a lot of these superhero characters for the big screen. So I know understanding your pillars with social media is almost the first drill I have everyone do. And very simply, at the very least, write down 3 things you want people to portray. Do not copy anyone else. It's like I always give the example. My buddy Rob Yang is very nutrition focused. He's going in there, and today he just had a post up about water retention and losing water. And Rob will go very heavy in certain areas. Or Allie Gilbert, she'll joke around and talk about boners and biceps. Allie can talk about boners and biceps. I can't. I'm going to be arrested. It doesn't necessarily fit who I am. It doesn't fit my schedule, and it also come off really kind of unauthentic if I start trying to be someone else. So I think the understanding is start with 3 pillars, and write them down. And then every day it's just this monotonous. If you're going to do 1 post a day, try and tap upon Monday. It might be pillar number 1. Tuesday might be pillar number 3. Wednesday. Pillar number 2, sorry. Wednesday might be pillar number 3. And it's just clockwork of this cycle of this monotonous process of putting up this content and telling this story. And that's the first thing that people don't do.
Don, what about that's on the feed? And I know you're talking about the schedule. So yeah, there you go. You got your pillars. So if you have 3 pillars, you basically, if you go through there, that's on the feed. The story, do you follow the same? Or since your story is more about what's happening in your life at the moment, might be a little harder to follow those pillars, but what do you do for that from that perspective?
Stories become more of a free for all. I think stories are more of this, it's this 24-hour banner that just deletes. And I think that's where I don't mind getting, I can get a little, not salesy, but I put up a lot of the companies that I do brand work with. It just might be something fun. It might be me with a huge zit on my forehead. And I'm like, Jesus, what the hell is this? There's something funny, so, but it's your way of being able to fill content and not necessarily on stories. Don't take yourself so seriously. This should be something raw. Stories should be something really where you're allowing people in to kind of see your personality. It doesn't have to be any of these. That's why I love stories so much. It doesn't have to be this big filtered process. My feed posts are more about giving content where people can just come back and they can steal from me. That's what I want. I want them to steal exercises, nutrition tips, places, supplements that I believe in and why. It's got to become 90% of that page becomes more about educating people. Stories just becomes more about fun. It could be, my son and I wrestling. It could be something. It's just my way of allowing people in, and it's gone in 24 hours.
Absolutely. And so I've been seeing, I'm looking at your feed right now, and you've been doing obviously a little bit more videos on the feed. Is that something that people should really think about, is doing more videos on the feed as well, not just pictures?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, listen, especially right now, I like the videos because, I think everyone's in a very vulnerable position and they need, exercise advice and they don't know what body weight work to do. And, I started throwing some band work in the last couple of days because the first few days was all body weight. And I'm like, no, listen, if you want to know, some inexpensive equipment, like go to my partner at Perform Better, it obviously sends them a lot of love, and you could buy a band for, practically nothing. And there's like a full portable gym right there. So at the very least, I'm trying to show people some really low hanging fruit. I'm not doing a ton of stuff. Like I've got power blocks here in my house. I've got, kettlebells. I've got an erg. I got a bike. Like, yeah, I can fill it with that stuff and I can put it up there. But I think at this time right now, that's not very applicable to the general public. So I'm just trying to cater to more people right now. If I put something up on a ski erg, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's fun, but how many people out there have a ski erg in their house, So I'm trying to do things that are more user-friendly.
Absolutely. And, liquor has been considered essential. So Aviator Gin is part of the...
Oh, yeah. I love it. My boy, Ryan Reynolds, he saw that one up and he wrote back to me. He goes, this is brilliant. I love it. He started laughing. So, perfect example. I've been seeing them every day. Like I've been working with his wife, Blake, and, we'll jump on and he'll pop in and he's training and I'm putting my 2 cents in, and it's so important. We're all staying connected. It's just everyone's self-quarantining right now. So you're kind of living in this little bit of this bubble, a little bit of very, a big time bubble here. So it's great to be able to see people's faces that you love. Important.
Absolutely. And Don does want that to come across. He did, I'm joking about it because he did the Aviator Gin twists, and like, so
the aviation twist,
twist, like the Russian twist. And so it's like adding that humor. It's one of his pillars is to, make it personal and show his personality. So really important. Good stuff.
Oh, thanks, brother.
All right. Well, Don, one last question on just this Instagram piece, because we're seeing more coaches obviously trying to go on it, and we do, and it's an important piece that you can get away. You can really convey your message here a lot through video, through the stories, through feeds. When you save the feeds, what's your best practices for those? Saving the stories. I'm sorry, like up top.
Yeah.
What's your best practices for that?
Well, what I'll end up doing is you have this highlight section that everyone knows about, and the coaches I think that are getting really good, though, you can go to my feed and check it out. But like I have these highlights up top, and if you scroll left, you can go through I probably have anywhere from like 10 to 15 highlights there. And what happens is suddenly like you start like right before like this complete shit show happened with this quarantine, I did a 10-day elimination diet that I do probably every year. And you could see on my highlights a category that I created called elimination diet. It shows my 10-day process through all that. And there's, now I have a full elimination program coming out with my nutritionist, Alana Kessler. And we've kind of combined my workout regimen with, her nutritional plan here. And we're going to be able to sell that to people. So I know once you start putting stories up that are of value, or they tell a specific story that you want to continually talk about, then you turn around and you kind of set up that whole highlight reel. And then anytime you put something up there, you want to add it to your highlights, you add it to your highlights, and then that highlight shows up first on your feed. So there's specific things that you have to continually do to, keep that fresh and keep it sharp and keep content current. And, when you keep putting honestly, with stories, like the more stories you put up, the more people are going to see that first in their feed. And I'm not saying you want to be annoying putting up 50 stories a day, because some people will get really annoyed about that. But what's going to start happening is that the cream will rise, and you're going to start seeing that your feed becomes a lot stickier. And if you make it about adding value to people's lives, people aren't going to look at you as someone who's annoying. He's like, oh, wow, this guy just wants to show his abs. No, this guy's just trying to deliver value. And that's been the biggest compliment that I get. I'll get probably a few dozen messages a day. People are just saying, thank you. This has helped me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's fantastic. And I think, you got to start there first. And that's where a lot of us started as trainers. When we got into the business, we were all young, we were all hungry, we were on the floor, and then suddenly you see someone, performing an exercise and you wanted to show them a way to do it better. You wanted to add value. And I think a lot of what happens is that people get burnt out and they're like, oh my God, I got to go back to doing that now. Yeah, in a way, the answer is yes, but apply that same value and that same intensity that you apply to developing your client base in person. Just do it now digitally. And you got to be consistent with it, because putting up a post every week, that's not going to do it. That's like showing up to the gym once a week and saying like, all right, well, I'm just going to show up and then people are going to start working with me. Like, no, like they've got to see a level of organization. They got to see someone who practices what they preach. They got to see someone who's knowledgeable. They got to see someone who's empathetic. These were all traits and qualities that, a successful coach has, or most successful coaches have. And now you have the ability to show this on a platform that can get out there to millions and millions of people. I think it's pretty remarkable. And I think actually right now, in a very sick way, this is going to do a big favor to many coaches who've been struggling to kind of take that next step in this direction, because it's going to force us all to. I don't know when my gym's opening up. I have no idea. I'm acting like it's not. And I'm just pursuing this right now as if this is where business is going to lie.
Absolutely. And I will say, guys, think about this stuff. Success leaves clues. Go to Don Saladino at Don Saladino on Instagram and just see what he's doing. Now you kind of have a behind the scenes to understand about his pillars and kind of come up with those pillars. It'll give you ideas for content, be consistent, and add value. And you'll start to see some really good results. So Don, thanks so much for coming on today. It's an important time.
Love it.
Well, really appreciate
I love it, man.
All you've done for me, obviously, in our conversation, and always helping me out with to get the word out there for people. So appreciate you coming on, bud.
Well, yeah, man, you've been a huge part of my life, and I can't tell you how much you've done for my career. So thank you, and we'll just keep in touch, brother. Let me know if you need anything. All right.
Welcome to a special DVRT series on multi-pointer training. My name is Josh Henkin, founder of DVRT. Today, I'd like to talk about how we're going to use the concepts we laid out in part 1 and part 2, which is what are the planes of motion, and then how do we start thinking about progressing them, and why are they so essential to our training programs? So we already discussed that if we have these energy leaks in our body, we're less efficient in our movement. We can't we can't demonstrate optimal force. We can't be powerful. We can't be efficient. We can't, again, expend less energy doing the same things, and we're not going to be able to resist injury as well. So how does this actually look in real life? So let me give you a practical example. If we're building a squat, many people know of the goblet squat. So the goblet squat obviously allows us to pattern the movement of the squat while applying some load to build some foundational strength. The question often becomes, well, where do I go after that? Because the upper body can become a limiting factor in a goblet squat. Well, in DVRT, we have our ultimate sandbag where we can use a bear hug squat. So imagine a weight that we give a big hug to so it's vertical upon our body. Now we make that weight a part of our body, but we're still in the sagittal plane, but it's actually easier for us to build mobility and give us more load because now our upper body is not the limiting factor. We can start building a higher level of strength while still maintaining the pattern that we're building. But where do we go from there? Obviously, we're going to run out of room with the weight that we can use. So then we might move into the front load. So imagine the weight is now horizontal to my body and the crooks of my arms. I'm not in a exertion position because I'm going to apply tension to that load. And now I have a moving front plank. So again, we're still all sagittal plane, but I'm getting to where we can go. From there, we can move into double kettlebell rack. Having the weight staying outside of our body, we can't create as much tension. So we have to be a little bit more reactive with our work. Now, this is the big pivotal point. Where do we go from there? What the beautiful part of kettlebells allow for is to use 2 different weights. So we've used 2 different weights of kettlebells as we squat. We start to introduce my need to learn how to resist rotation and the frontal plane while I'm moving the sagittal plane. The bigger the difference of weight of those kettlebells, the more profound the challenge is for me to move in the sagittal plane, but resist frontal and transverse forces. So again, if we go to a single arm kettlebell, that would actually increase those demands. If I move into a shoulder position with an ultimate sandbag, even higher levels of resisting lateral flexion and rotation. So what we've just done is we've established the squat in the sagittal plane, and now we've made it multiplanar. Multiplanar doesn't mean changing the plane of motion you work in. It means moving in one plane while resisting another. So here's a great example of how we resisted the other planes of motion as we worked on that foundational squat. So again, one of the things that some people look at go, but Josh, the weight I can use in that is so less significant than I can on a barbell. Well, let's talk about the reality of that. A bar on my back is the most stable position I can hold a weight. That's why we hold it there, and that's why we can hold such large amounts of weight. Now, inherently, I'm not going to go over all the spinal mechanics that go along with it, but let's just talk about the concepts we have been discussing. So if we're going to say that stability allows me to create more force, which it does, then we have to think about, if we're all about force production, why not move into more stable environments and take this all the way to the extent of using machines? The more stable I become, the more force I can develop. Well, the reality is we know we don't do that during sport or real life. We have to have a mixture of the ability to produce force and stabilize our joints at the same time. And that's exactly what the research shows. There's a great research paper demonstrating this with the use of dumbbells and barbells, both overhead, pressing overhead, either standing or sitting. And the researchers found that standing and pressing dumbbells have the highest EMG activity in the shoulder girdle. Well, why is that? Well, because some of that energy had to be devoted to stabilizing the joint. This happened even though the weight was less than it was with the barbell. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? So we can't be only weight mindful because we have to think about these elements of stability. Of course, one could say even our force production drops, and they would be right, but that's a trade-off we have to be willing to make. Because again, in most real-world environments, whether it's sport or everyday life, we're not stabilized by artificial environments so that we can produce optimal force. That also comes to where it's hard to measure how much force we're resisting. And I think if we had means in which of doing so, we would see that we can't rely just on the load we're lifting. We have to look at these other variables and their impact upon how we perform movement and how we go about thinking of strength. So that's it for today. My name is Josh Hankin. On the next episode, I will give you the final breakdown of how we really think about multiplayer training and the great benefits it can have to your workouts. So check out more at dbrtfitness.com.
Hey, this is Greg Cook, and got a few observations about corrective exercise, the way we fix movement. One of the things that's been rolling around in my head for a few years is, should we really be fixing preventable problems? The answer is yes. Help anybody you can whenever you can, but by adding new ways to look at the body on top of movement screening, everything we can look at with force plates and heart rate variability and everything like that, we've leaned back on things that are unbelievably simple. And we've got a simple little breathing screen that we do, and we've actually got some breathing resets or some breathing supplements that we do just to recalibrate your breathing pretty quick. We quickly involve that breath into a movement pattern, which is nothing new because both yoga and martial arts don't ever teach movement without the appropriate breath. The best kettlebell and weightlifting instructors have a breath sequence, and believe it or not, your spine likes a breath sequence as well. Flexion likes exhale and extension likes inhale. And there's a lot of biomechanical and physiological reasons for that. But the cool thing is resyncing breath and movement is not even a movement correction because it's not specific. It's not like we're working on balance to improve balance or working on flexibility to improve flexibility. We're working on breath to reset homeostasis. And that homeostasis reset sometimes reallocates the way we distribute our tension across our body. And sometimes after a hard day, our tension is all in the wrong place. After sitting for 2 hours, our tension is all in the wrong place. And it's almost made me be critical of all of us in corrective exercise because the new ways we can manipulate those primitive reflexes of the body, or the way we use foam rolling or advanced stretching or even soft tissue work to prep ourselves for working out, makes me wonder, if it's working, why do we have to do it all the time? And so I think our body puts parking brakes on irresponsible things that we do and says, okay, well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to make you do it this slow and this inefficient. At least you won't be able to do it enough to hurt us any more than you're already doing. And what I want to look at is we've been able to change balance and flexibility just by resetting the breathing. So it makes me think, if we've got people living in a toxic environment thinking Red Bull is actually the best supplement for needing to be active longer and sleep less, it ends poorly. So look at all the things we can do in sleep, hydration, nutrition, and breath that will actually change a movement screen in a single day. We've actually got studies right now with the Y balance test in the military looking at sleep deprivation and the way it affects balance. And we don't even need to know how sleep affects fitness, because if your balance is out, your fitness is probably, good or bad, still going to hurt you because your balance is poor. You're going to fatigue early, be inefficient, and less aware. So I guess I want to leave you with this one thought. Ever since we've developed movement screening, we've been able to ask your body a question that your mouth often answers differently. When I ask you what your biggest mobility problem is, sometimes your movement screen tells me something different. And when I ask you what your greatest stability challenge is, sometimes what the movement screen says is exactly the opposite of what you think it is. So we use the movement screen to first and foremost recalibrate your awareness. And if we see something in your lifestyle that is out, instead of dispensing the corrective for the movement pattern that you have today, what happens if I cut back a runner who has poor form? I cut their mileage back. They've got a 1-2 leg raise, a asymmetrical active leg raise. And I cut their mileage back, and all of a sudden, boom, it resets. All I did was protect them from a workout that was too aggressive and too much load under the level of technique that they had. If they're sleep deprived or running at borderline dehydration, we can show how maybe their balance would change just by getting some sleep and hydrating a little bit more responsibly. And those are two things right there from the top and bottom, where giving a movement corrective would have basically said, movement, don't show me how bad the workout is or how toxic the rest and regeneration is. And so sometimes fixing movement first gives people a Band-Aid when they need to just learn not to scrape their knee anymore. And so I think we can use the movement screen in some cases in wellness situations, and even in overloaded or overstressed athletic situations, say a little more here, a little less there, movement changes. So if we can use it sometimes as the canary in the coal mine, movement will tell us if we're improving the state of readiness or eroding the state of readiness in our attempts to recondition people. Let's think about that for a few minutes.
All right, that's going to do it for episode 277 of the Strength Coach Podcast. Guys, remember, you can try strengthcoach.com out. We've extended the trial 30 days, just $1. You'll have access to all the articles, videos, and programs, as well as what we consider the best forum on the net. We started a new forum thread just on the COVID-19 topics, and it's the only place to have full access to Coach Boyle. He's on every day answering questions. Make sure to access it offer. Go to strengthcoach.com, click the Join Now button to get started on your trial. All right, special thanks to Chris Party and the folks over at Perform Better. Remember, you can create customized packages there to help fit your online training. Use the code PB15 right now. That's 15% off and free shipping. Again, the free shipping is on certain items. All right, thanks to Coach Boyle and Don Saladino for sharing their insights and philosophies into the world of strength and conditioning, performance enhancement, and online training. Thanks to Ryan Leibreich and TrainHeroic. Head over to TrainHeroic.com. Start your free 14-day trial. Let them know I sent you. You'll save 10% off the first year of the TrainHeroic Pro or Elite Edition. Thanks to Alwyn Cosgrove for the Results Fitness University Business of Fitness segment. Check them out at resultsfitnessuniversity.com. Great Cook and Functional Movement Systems. Check them out at functionalmovement.com. Josh Henkin and DVRT Systems. Check them out at dvrtfitness.com. My name is Anthony Renna. Check out my new book, Be Like the Best, at continuefit.com, or you can go to belikethebest.com. That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for listening, guys. Good luck, stay healthy, and I'll speak to you next time.